Yeah, it's exciting. You're listening to the Urban Sports Scene Washington Capitals live post-game show. In game 2, in the first round of Stanley Cup Playoffs, the Washington Capitals take a 2-0 lead against the Montreal Canadiens, and the Caps win by winning tonight 3-1 over the Canadiens. Hey, I am Wole, and I'm joined by former WNST's Washington Capitals reporter Ed Frankovic. What is going on, Ed? How are you feeling tonight?
Well, hey, first off, happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Ed. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
And
I
on your
appreciate
birthday, being a big goalie fan,
that.
we've got two stellar goaltending performances by both teams tonight. Montembeault for the Canadians kept them in it for 2 periods, and then Logan Thompson was incredible in the third period. So, a birthday for you, and the goalies shined on your day.
And you know how much I like, or how much I'm into good goalkeeping in the postseason. Like I feel like that is the key to winning a Stanley Cup. You know what I mean? And like you said, Thompson was amazing today.
Yeah, he made some saves down the stretch that he really bailed his team out. And it was this Montreal team. They are young and they have some very talented players, but they were dominated. Like both
Mhm.
games, the first 2 periods, Montreal was dominated, but they found a way in the third period to try and crawl back in it tonight. Logan Thompson said, "Not no overtime tonight," and it's a battle. It's playoff hockey, as you know. Every game is tight. It's very hard
Yes.
to get the 3 goals, and it took an empty netter for the Caps to get there tonight at the buzzer. But they've dominated lots of stretches. But the Canadians goalies kept them in it, so it's going to shift to Montreal. It's going to be energetic in there Friday night, third period, and that building can get really loud. It's going to be really important that the Capitals, stick to their system. When the Capitals are playing their system, they're dominating this series. They're the better team,
Yeah.
as you and I have talked about coming in, and so they just got to keep it up.
Yeah, I totally agree. Before we continue talking about this game, we're going to knock out some particulars. Hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and other podcast platforms. Just search the Urban Sports Scene. If you're on YouTube right now and you're on the Urban Sports Scene YouTube channel, please hit that red subscribe button and also like this video. It will do well for the Caps algorithm in terms of YouTube programming and whatnot and streaming. So please, on the YouTube, if you're on YouTube channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to tweet us at Urban Sports Scene. Hit us up on IG and TikTok at Urban Sports Scene, and like our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. Also join our Urban Sports Scene Facebook group. Search Urban Sports Scene, sports bloggers, sports podcasters, and sports debates. All right, Ed, there's something you stated, and we talked about this before we started recording. I just feel like in these first two matchups, the Caps have shown that they're the superior team. Now, granted, like they went to overtime in the first game, but they had a 2-goal lead, in that third period. But in terms of the totality of the series, and granted, Montreal is showing fight, but it just feels like the Caps are just the better team.
Yeah, they're more experienced. They're bigger. They're more physical. Something else you and I talked about a little bit is just
Mhm,
the physicality is so big in playoff hockey.
mhm.
And this is Montreal's first endeavor in the playoffs. The Caps have a lot of experience there. And it's pretty clear watching the game that the Capitals are doing everything they can to finish every check, put the body on Montreal. They're the bigger team and try and impose their will. And they have for the most part. I will give
Mhm.
Montreal's goalie a lot of credit, but they have some really talented players on that Montreal team: Suzuki and Caulfield and
Yeah.
Slavkovsky, Hudson on the back end, Matheson. So they've got some firepower there in Montreal, and the Caps have done a pretty good job of controlling them. But they that team's not quitting, so it's going to be interesting when we go to Montreal. But the Caps are definitely dominating. Now they have to find a way to just finish that third period stronger. That last 10 minutes of game one,
Mhm,
they end up going overtime because they took a penalty. They made
mhm.
some bad decisions defensively. Tonight in game three, there were some breakaways. There were some quality chances that Logan Thompson really shut the door. Otherwise, that game was going to overtime. So you got to try and get that full 60 minutes of domination and not have these lapses in the third period. And we'll see if the Caps can keep it up. They are the better team. Losing Martin Fehervary for the playoffs certainly hurts, but
Mhm.
Alexiev has done a pretty good job on D, filling in for him. So I do agree with you. The Caps are the dominant team, and they just got to go and not give Montreal any life.
All right, listener, viewer of the show, man, George said, should we be concerned that Washington's been outplayed in the third period twice? Should we be concerned about that?
Yeah, it's absolutely. And the Capitals said after game one, they learned a good lesson. And They did a better job tonight, although there were some golden chances for Montreal, and that's something I'm sure Stephen Carberry will address with the team. They have to make sure they get that third forward back, and the Capitals have to not sit back. The Capitals are at their best when they're getting pucks deep and they're hitting the other team's defense and they're putting the pressure on them. So they have to get a little more ozone time in that third period. So that's a very good question from our audience.
So, all right, my question to that is like, also like in terms of like this is like we talk. Like I mentioned, them being the better team, the more physical team, the more dominant team. Is it a concern about their defense going past this round? Because the goal at the end of the day is to win the cup. Like this is the goal. Like should this be concerning for Cap fans that this defense hasn't, to your point, that's gone through lulls, and especially you can't really have that where you're playing some of the better teams that you advanced in the postseason.
Yeah, I think the big concern is definitely losing Faravari, right? He was a key piece. He's a very good penalty killer, very good defenseman. Alexiev did not play a lot in the regular season. I think the Capitals set our team record, and they went like 50-some games with playing the same 6 defensemen. And now hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them. I will say that Alexiev was definitely better in game 2 than he was in game 1. I think he played 14 minutes and change in game 1. And I noticed him a little more out there tonight. So as he gets games, he should get better. But that was a big loss. I mean, injuries play a big role in the playoffs. It's 2 months, 4 series you have to win, and you're going to need that depth to shine. So if Alexiev can step up and do some of what Faravari did, because Faravari is just a super player, but he's gone. Torn meniscus surgery, he's done. So
he's done. Yeah,
that's a hit right there. So they can't afford to lose another defenseman.
So Ed, what would you say in terms of what is your big takeaway from this? Well, all right. What's your takeaway message for this particular? Well, the first 2 games. What's your takeaway message with the Caps being up 2-0? What's your takeaway message?
I think if I'm Carberry, I'm telling them, look, guys, we have to continue to play the system. We've done that pretty well for 40 to 50 minutes each game. It's been those last 10 minutes where we've gotten a little bit out of our system and we've given the other team some life. And we have to stick to our system. If we stick to our system, we should be okay. And they just have to find a way to take advantage of some of these chances they're getting the first 2 periods of the game and get more than 2 goals, right? They've got to find a way to finish on this guy. And I think they need a little more traffic in front, a little more guys to the net. And if they can do that up front, then they should be able to put themselves in a position where these third period craziness from Montreal isn't going to come back and bite them.
Ovi having 2 goals in the first game, including the game-winning goal in overtime. Ovi didn't get a goal in this game. Did they do anything different to try to contain Ovi?
No, he had some good shifts. I mean, I will say that line did have a really bad shift on the first goal for Montreal, which Montreal actually had a 1-0 lead.
Yeah.
But then they came back and they had the Strome goal was big. Ovi and Beauvillier were on for that one. So they didn't do anything different. The Capitals didn't have many power plays. Maybe one
they
power
didn't.
play
I know.
tonight. Yeah, there weren't many power plays, and there's not going to be in the playoffs. So Ovi didn't get a lot of looks. There was some time. There was one time when he was wide open in front and just kind of bobbled the puck, which was a great scoring chance. So it was nice to see other guys step up. I mean, McMichael's played really well. His goal was really huge. It's just a smart play, throwing the puck at the net, and it goes in off the shin pad of Montreal's defense. I like the way Mangiapane's playing. I like the way Leonard's playing. Ryan Leonard, the rookie. Those guys are on the verge of scoring. If they can get some other guys providing some offense, like getting that third line going, that's going to be huge. I mean, if you look back at the Cup run in 2018, it was that third line, fourth line. You had Devo, you had Brett Connolly, Lars Eller, Burakovsky. Jay Beagle even got on the board some. That those third and fourth lines make the difference. And if they can chip in with some goals here, then that's where you're going to go deeper in the playoffs, when you start getting that third and fourth line chipping in.
So, who would you say who were the key dogs for this victory tonight?
I would start number one, Logan Thompson. He
Mm-hmm.
was incredible in that. I mean, he single-handedly 3 or 4 chances in the third period that I thought for sure were going in the back of the net, and he stopped them. So
Mm-hmm.
he is my number one star, Logan Thompson. I thought that Jeff Chikrin had a very good game. Um, like I said, Connor McMichael was very good tonight. Dylan Strome,
Yeah, he
very
was
good.
good. Yeah,
So
Strom's good.
yeah, those guys I thought were the ones that stood out. I thought, Mangiapane had some chances. I'd like to see him finish. I thought he was good. Um, and Duham and that line with Dowd, they do their jobs. They get in there. They get in. They hit the other team. They put physical presence on them. I didn't. Dowd took a penalty, which kind of was coincidental contact, but it definitely was interference. If the Cats definitely got to stay out of the box because that Montreal power play is very good.
Mm-hmm. So what should be the mindset going into game three? Obviously, the Caps they held stand winning 2 games at home, but now they have an opportunity to put a stranglehold in this series by trying to go up 3-0. What should be the mindset for the Capitals going to Montreal and knowing that this young Canadiens team is ready and probably going to be up and amped to try to get a victory in their home stadium, in their home arena.
Yeah, they got to be ready to come out and take the play to Montreal, right? They cannot
Mm-hmm.
sit back. They cannot um, be overconfident, right? They're up 2-0, but these have been close games on the
Mm-hmm.
scoreboard. At times have been dominating for the Caps, but they have to be ready to match Montreal's energy. They're going to get a lot of energy from that home crowd, and if they can, get off to a good start and take that energy away, then the Canadiens fans will turn on them a bit. So they have to be ready to match Montreal's energy and continue to play their structure. That is going to be the message from Carberry to the team.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very, very interesting. So, and do you expect should a message about their defense? Do you feel like their defense has to step up in this when they go to Montreal? And so like those lulls don't happen. You know what I mean? Just like those
Yeah,
breakaway opportunities and whatnot.
and it's all 5 guys on the ice, right? That
Mm-hmm.
goal Montreal scored tonight to take the 1-0 lead. That was a lot of that was on the forwards too. They were
Yeah.
not picking up guys, right? So
Mm-hmm.
defensemen can only do so much. If the forwards are not taking the guys coming to the net, there's nothing the defenseman can do. So it's a total defensive effort, right? And I will say one thing in the third period I think got them in trouble a bit was their breakout passes were not crisp. They were not in the
Mm-hmm.
right spots. There were turnovers, right? It's like throwing an interception in football. You
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
cannot do that because they got some key scoring chances. Montreal did off some Caps mistakes, and it's got to be focused. It's got to be crisp. It's got to be the right place in the breakouts.
It's crazy you say that because I remember. I watched one. Like, I want to say it was the Carolina game, the game you told me to watch, and that
Yes.
was an issue for me too in that Carolina game. It was like they weren't crisp on like the breakout passes, and some resulted in turnovers. I was kind of annoyed at that. Is that and I'm asking you this because you watched pretty much all the games this season. Is that a consistent issue with the Caps, or is that something that's more current, more recent?
It's been very spotty,
Okay.
Ole. The first couple periods of both the first 2 games, it
Okay.
was almost non-existent. The breakout
Gotcha.
passes were good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're getting a little panicky on the back end or maybe a little tired at times, but there were the third periods, both games, the third periods, the breakouts have gotten loose, if you will.
Yeah.
There's been some soft breakout passes where they're trying to hit the center coming up the middle or the far winger, and there's just not enough zip on them, and Montreal's jumping in those lanes. Craig Laughlin and Joe Beninati made a good point tonight. The Montreal rides that Suzuki Caulfield Slafkovsky line.
Yeah.
It's a very talented,
It is.
supremely talented.
It
Caulfield
is.
was on the USA gold medal winning World Junior team.
Mm-hmm.
Slafkovsky, very good European player, and Suzuki's he's a stud. That guy's going to be one of the best players in the league in a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years.
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to take over minute shifts. They tend to play 60 to 70 seconds on a shift.
Wow.
And most shifts, the ideal shift length in hockey is 45 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they made a very good point that the Capitals almost have to have 2 lines ready to stop that team because that team's got a lot of those guys can
Yeah.
go.
They're young.
Those 3 guys can go that distance,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you get trapped out there and you not get the right change. That's where they're going to beat you when you're tired. And that's what happened on some of the goals they've scored. So the Capitals are not going to have the last change up in Montreal. What that means is the Capitals have to put their guys out first on a face-off. Montreal can then put whoever they want against them. They're going to do whatever they can. Martin St. Louis, the coach of the Canadiens, is going to do whatever they can to get a favorable matchup for that line, Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slafkovsky.
So my question to you, like you mentioned Logan Thompson and just how he's played. I have to talk about goalies. This is my thing. And you talked about he's one of your key players. But if you had to assess his first two games so far, obviously tonight was lights out. But his first two games, how would you assess? What grade would you give him?
For the first he'd get an A+.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay.
I mean, he didn't play for 2 weeks, right? He was battling we believe it was a concussion. We don't know. They wouldn't tell us till after the season, but he was incredible. I mean, tonight was. I would say I would have given him an A for game one.
Okay.
And then he was A+ tonight. Awesome. They do not win that hockey game without him. The way he played in that third period.
So the way he's playing, all right, because Ed, you watch the team. The way he's playing right now, he's on this. Looks like he's on this a nice stretch. Is he a Stanley Cup champion type of goaltender right now? As we're looking at him right now, can the Caps?
The way he's playing, absolutely, and
awesome.
And the goals against him have been big defensive mistakes, like gaping hole, wide open net type things, and we see and they've been in the third period, and we saw that again tonight. I mean, I thought for sure it was 2-2, and the Montreal guy hit the post, and then Logan got a piece of it going out to protect the tap in would have made it 2-2. So again, the Capitals have to be better on their own end in the third period, and if they are, their goalie's going to make the save. I mean, Thompson is playing. He's playing just as well as Holtby did the year the Caps won the Cup.
Well, I like hearing that. That's what I like to hear. If he's playing as good as Holtby, I'm ecstatic. But the defense has to match that goalie play. Like they have to match that goalie play so they can help protect him even when he's not in the best situation. I think that's always the thing in playoff hockey. It's not just the goaltender. I just feel like it has to also be the defense itself, and like you meant, forwards have to play defense, the back end has to play defense, and like sacrificing your body to block pucks. I think that's essential when you're in playoff hockey. Like you're trying to limit as many opportunities as possible. You know what I mean? To kind of like to hinder your goaltender, your goaltender. So yeah, I agree with you.
I would say and to your point, those chances I'm talking about in the third period really came between the 10-minute mark and the 5-minute mark. I will say the last 3 minutes. When Montreal pulled the goalie, the Capitals were very good, right? Thompson didn't have to make the huge save because guys were getting in the lanes. They were blocking shots. They were chipping it out. There was no turnovers. They were getting it out. So I liked the way they played the last 3.5 minutes. I did not like the way they played from, say, 10 minutes left to about 3.5 minutes left. And that was the same thing on game one, right? They let the Canadiens back in the game, and you just can't do that.
All right, so Ed, give me a prediction. What do you think's going to happen in game 3? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, I think Montreal's going to, they're going to be amped up, right? Okay. So I think, that first period's going to be key. If the Capitals can find a way to be even or up after the first period, they're going to be in good shape, right? So, this is do or die for Montreal. They're going to give everything they've got. Martin St. Louis is going to try and get the best matchups he can. Given that the Capitals sustained no additional injuries tonight, and I don't think they did, if they can come out and play their system, they can close the series out pretty much with a win. If they lose, now that building's going to be really hopping for game 4. And, the prospect of tying it up and bringing it back here for a game 5, that's where you don't want to be. So the Capitals have got to come out and match the Canadiens' energy in game 3. If they do that and play their system, they could go up 3-0. So it's going to be very interesting. Montreal is going to bring it, though. They're going to throw everything they can because this is desperation. In the playoffs, desperation wins a lot.
It's everything. I totally agree. It's everything. So, and for game 3, who is I'm gonna eliminate the goalie. That's always important to me. But in game 3, who is like the key player that needs to step up to kind of make sure the Caps go up 3-0 in game 3?
Well, it's something you and I talked about a couple of weeks ago when we chatted after Ovi set the record. For me, it goes up the middle of the ice, right? So Dylan Strome's playing really well. If Pierre-Luc Dubois, I like how he's playing. I think he has another notch he can go here in these playoffs. if PLD and then, Dowd and Eller's really playing the fourth line center minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If those four guys up the middle of the ice have strong games, the Capitals will be very difficult to beat.
Love it. Hey, well, Ed, man, this has been dope. I appreciate you being on. I appreciate all the viewers, my man George for tuning in and with this question. Hopefully the Caps go 3-0. I mean, that's what I would love to see. Obviously, folks who know me know that I love the Caps. I do. I love the Caps. I love this team. I think this team has been the most consistent. Growing up watching Washington teams, the Caps have been the most consistent Washington team. Period. Like that doesn't mean in terms of having a winning games. We don't have to talk about champions and always being contenders or always being in the postseason. The Caps are the most consistent Washington professional team. Period. So I enjoy watching this team. Hopefully, I would love for Ovi to get a championship when he's broke the record. Like I think that would be poetic justice.
Yeah, I agree with you. And when we talked a couple weeks ago, we did talk about how they'd gotten away from their game, chasing the record.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of concerns coming in, and I think they've put a lot of that to rest.
Yeah.
Outside of these third period lapses, they have gotten back to their system. They're playing it the right way. They've dominated the first two periods in both games. Now they just got to kind of put it all together here. And don't give Montreal any life. This is going to be a hard one. It's going to be really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Putting a team down 3-0 is very difficult. Any sport, basketball, hockey, baseball, these type of series, because desperation. The other team is very desperate. So we'll see if the Capitals can match that. They have some experienced guys on the roster, Ovi, Wilson, and then some of the younger guys, the McMichaels, haven't played in these situations before. Alexiev. Chikrin, this is kind of his first foray into the playoffs. We're going to see how they handle an opposing building in a pressure situation for the other team and see if they can match that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm optimistic, but that's why they play the games.
Look, I'm feeling kind of confident. I feel like they got this. I kind of feel like they're just showing their dominance, which is cool. I feel like this could be the one time for a first round matchup that I don't feel like that much anxiety. But you know what? That can change. Like you said, or like you said, like they take this game, they take game 3, that changes everything. Like it changes everything. You know what I mean? But I do, to your point though, and which you're totally correct. The sense of being desperate, especially being down 2-0, and then you're going back home, it makes it way tougher to trying to pull off that 3-0 lead. Compared to when vice versa, if you're up 2-0 and then you're going home up 2-0, then it's like, the team is desperate, but you got the crowd to kind of help you amp you up to kind of combat a team being desperate. So I do agree with you. I feel like they're going to have to, in my opinion, they're going to have to start fast. The Capitals are going to have to provide doubt for Montreal. Like they have to, obviously, if Ovi scores initially, or if it's Tom Wilson, or if they score fast, I feel like then you create doubt, and then that obviously Montreal will be more desperate. But I think that level of desperateness will create mistakes. You know what I mean? Yes. If you can get them to that point. So I'm with you. The Caps can start fast, get the first goal. I think it's essential for the Caps to get the first goal. If they can get the first goal, then I feel like Montreal will be pressing, because they're a young team too, right? Like you said, they're a young team. They're going to be pressing. They're going to feel like they have to get everything back at once without setting it up correctly. And I feel like that will give the Caps an opportunity to get like a multiple goal lead, rather than just having just the one goal lead going into like the second period or something like that. So I think, to your point, it's essential for this team to get like the first goal, in my opinion.
Yeah, that first period's going to be big, right? The first 10 minutes. Montreal comes out, gets a goal early, then they get the whole building behind them. The Caps now are really climbing uphill. And then, if it gets 2-0, boy, then you're in big trouble. So, you're in big trouble. That first period is going to be telling. Let's put it that way. The Caps have got to match Montreal's energy, because they will be bringing everything they have.
Yeah, but luckily they got the goaltender, so I feel good now. I feel good. Anyway, folks, thank you all for pulling up. We appreciate you. Anyway, you've been listening to the Urban Sports Scene for ages. You dig? Deuces. We are out.